The sound still echoes in my mind. That sharp crack of skin meeting skin that shattered 32 years of calling this place home. I never thought my own daughter-in-law would raise her hand to me, but there I was, standing in my living room, my cheek burning like fire, staring into Tiffany's cold, calculating eyes. "This house will be mine, Aaliyah," she screamed, her perfectly manicured finger pointed at my chest like a weapon. "You think you can treat me like garbage in my future home? Watch what happens next." The sting wasn't just physical. It cut straight through my soul. This was the same woman who used to call me Mama Aaliyah with that sweet smile. The same woman who sit right here on my couch complimenting Jerome's old photo on the mantel, talking about how blessed she felt to be part of our family. All lies. "Your future home?" I whispered, my hand trembling as I touched my burning cheek. "Have you lost your damn mind?" That's when her mask completely fell off. The fake sweetness vanished, replaced by something so ugly it made my stomach turn. "Jerome's will was never properly probated," she hissed, stepping so close I could smell her expensive perfume mixed with pure venom. "Legally, this house is in limbo, and I've done my research, old woman. I know exactly how to get what's mine." My legs nearly gave out. Jerome's will? We'd handled everything through his lawyer 5 years ago when he passed. Or so I thought. "You're lying," I managed, but even as the words left my mouth, doubt crept in like poison. Had we missed something? Was there paperwork I didn't understand? Her laugh was like glass breaking. "Am I? Those meetings Devin's been having? Those work trips that kept him so busy? He wasn't working overtime, Aaliyah. He was meeting with lawyers, getting documentation ready to prove you're unfit to own this property." My own son, my Devin, the boy I raised, the man I loved more than life itself. "You turned my son against me?" I breathed, and for the first time in years, I felt truly old, fragile, defeated. "You didn't turn him against you," she sneered, pulling out a manila envelope from her designer purse. "I just opened his eyes to the truth. You're getting old, Aaliyah, forgetful, unstable. All it takes is a few documented incidents, and boom, Devin becomes your legal guardian with power over all your assets." The room started spinning. This couldn't be happening. Not in the house Jerome built with his own hands, not from the woman my son loved. She threw the envelope on my coffee table like it was garbage and announced, "Competency hearing papers," with that sick satisfaction in her voice. "You have 48 hours to sign over the deed voluntarily or lose everything in court. And trust me, nobody's going to believe a bitter old widow over a concerned young family." I lunged for the papers, but she grabbed my wrist, her nails digging into my skin like claws. That's when I called her what she was. "You manipulative witch!" Slap! The second one was harder than the first. My head snapped to the side, and tears I'd been holding back finally spilled over. "Don't you ever put your hands on me again," she snarled. "This house is mine now. Accept it or lose your son forever." She stormed toward my front door, her heels clicking against Jerome's hardwood floors like a death march. But before she left, she turned back with the most evil smile I'd ever seen. "Oh, and Aaliyah, I already called Devin. The paperwork gets filed tomorrow." The door slammed shut, leaving me alone with the scattered papers and the echo of her threat hanging in the air like smoke. But she made one critical mistake. She underestimated exactly how far a mother will go to protect what's hers. Before I take you through what happened to me, I need to know. Drop a comment and tell me where in this beautiful world you're watching from right now. because I have a feeling some of you know exactly what it's like when the people who are supposed to love you most make you question your own worth. If that reality hits close to home, hit that like button so I know you're here with me. And if you want more stories like this, the kind that cut deep but help us heal, make sure you subscribe. This is where we come together, where we share the truths that matter. This is your safe space, and I want you right here with me for every single story. I should have seen it coming. The signs were there, glaring at me like neon lights in the dark. But love makes you blind to the most obvious truths. It started 3 years ago when Devin brought Tiffany home for the first time. She was all smiles and compliments, telling me how charming and vintage my house was. I thought she was being sweet. Now I know she was taking inventory. "This place has such character, Mama Aaliyah," she'd say, running her fingers along Jerome's handcrafted banister. "But don't you think it needs some updating? You know, to bring it into the 21st century?" Devin would nod along like a puppet. My son, the same boy who used to help his father sand these very stairs, suddenly started looking at our home like it embarrassed him. The whispers began after their wedding. "Aaliyah, honey," Tiffany would say during our Sunday dinners, her voice dripping with fake concern, "have you thought about putting some younger names on the utilities, you know, for when you get older and these bills become too much to handle?" I brushed it off. She was just trying to help, right? Wrong. "Maybe we should add my name to the deed," she suggested a few months later, cutting into the pot roast I'd spent all day preparing. "For security purposes, of course. What if something happens to you? Devin'll be stuck with all that legal mess." Devin's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "That's actually not a bad idea, Mom. Tiffany's just looking out for the family." The family. When did I stop being the center of it? "I've been thinking," she continued, her eyes gleaming with something that should have terrified me. "You could take out a reverse mortgage, live your best life, travel, enjoy your golden years while Devin and I handle the heavy lifting here." Handle the heavy lifting in my house. But the breaking point came 6 months ago during what I thought was an innocent conversation about finances. "Aaliyah," Tiffany said, her mask slipping just enough for me to catch a glimpse of something cold underneath, "you're being selfish." "Excuse me? Hoarding this big house when you're just one person? Devin and I are starting our lives together. We need space. We need equity. We need a future." My blood ran cold. "This is my home, Tiffany. For now." And those 2 words hit me like a punch to the gut. Devin said nothing. My own son sat there like a stone while his wife threatened the roof over my head. That's when I knew I was in trouble. The demands became less subtle after that. Direct, aggressive. She'd walk through my house pointing out problems, the outdated wiring that was dangerous, the plumbing that needed immediate attention, my obvious confusion about legal documents. "Face the facts," told me just last week, her voice sharp as broken glass. "You're not getting any younger. Mistakes happen. Memory slips. Wouldn't it be better to hand things over while you can still make rational decisions?" The threat was clear as clay. Sign over everything willingly, or she'd find another way. I never imagined that other way would involve her hand across my face and papers that could steal my entire life. But now I knew exactly who I was dealing with. A predator who'd been circling my family for 3 years, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Tonight, she had finally shown her claws. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I stood there in the suffocating silence of my living room, staring at that manila envelope on my coffee table like it was a coiled snake ready to strike. The air felt thick, heavy, like the walls themselves were closing in on me. Part of me didn't want to touch it, didn't want to know what poison Tiffany had left behind. But I'd never been a coward, and I wasn't about to start now. I picked it up with trembling fingers. The weight of it felt wrong, too heavy for something so thin, like it carried the weight of my entire future inside. I slid the papers out slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it might break through. Legal letterhead. Official stamps, words that swam before my eyes as panic set in. Then I saw it. 3 words that made my blood turn to ice. Competency hearing petition. I read it again and again, each time hoping I misread it, hoping my eyes were playing tricks on me like Tiffany claimed they always did. But there it was, clear as day, a petition to have me declared mentally incompetent, unfit to manage my own affairs, unfit to own my own home. My legs gave out. I collapsed on the couch, the same couch where Jermaine proposed to me 40 years ago, clutching papers that can destroy everything we built. My phone buzzed. I nearly dropped it when I saw Devin's name on the screen. My beautiful boy, my only child, the one person I thought would always have my back. The message made my stomach lurch. Mom, we need to talk. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder than it has to be. As if I was the one making things difficult, as if I was the villain in this nightmare. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. 1,000 responses flooded my mind. Rage, hurt, desperation, love. But before I could type a single word, I heard it. A car door slamming outside. My head snapped up, every nerve in my body screaming danger. Footsteps on my porch, heavy, multiple pairs. My breath caught in my throat. They wasn't supposed to come back tonight. Tiffany said 48 hours. It had barely been 48 minutes. Then came the pounding. Bang, bang, bang. Fists hammering against my front door so hard the whole frame shook. Open the door, Aaliyah, a man's voice, deep, threatening. Not Devin. We know you're in there. I pressed myself against the back of the couch, papers scattered across my lap, phone clutched in my white knuckle grip. Bang, bang, bang. This is your last chance to do this the easy way. The easy way. Sign over my home. Surrender my life. Disappear like I never mattered. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear my own thoughts. But one thing cut through the terror with crystal clarity. Jermaine didn't raise me to hide, and Tiffany was about to learn that some women don't break, they fight back. I stood up, papers in hand, and walked toward that door. Whatever came next, I'd face it head on. The pounding stopped as suddenly as it started, leaving only my ragged breathing in the memory of what led me here. I need you to understand how calculated this was, how Tiffany had been poisoning my life drop by drop, so slowly I didn't taste it until the venom had already spread. It was 2 weeks ago, a Tuesday afternoon. I remember because Tuesdays were when I did my grocery shopping. I came home to find Tiffany sitting in my living room like she owned the place. We need to talk, Aaliyah, she said, and pulled out her phone. "What are you doing?" "Recording," she replied flatly, propping it against the lamp, aimed directly at me. "I want documentation of everything you say from now on." My stomach dropped. Documentation? For what? Protection. That smile. God, that predator smile. "You've been saying some concerning things lately, forgetting conversations, getting confused about dates and times." "I have not." "See? Defensive, agitated, classic signs." She tapped notes into her phone like she was a doctor diagnosing a patient. "Don't worry, Mama Aaliyah, we're going to take care of you." That's when she slid the papers across my coffee table. "Sign here, here, and here. We're transferring the deed into Devon's name for your safety." "My safety?" I stared at her like she'd grown a second head. "This is my house, Tiffany. The answer is no." Her expression shifted from fake concern to something cold and sharp. "You really should reconsider. Get out." She stood slowly, deliberately, like a cat that had all the time in the world to play with his prey. "Did you know Jerome's will was never properly probated?" she asked casually, sliding her phone into her purse. My heart stopped. "What?" That lawyer friend of his, what was his name? The one who handled everything after Jerome died. She made air quotes with her fingers. "He filed the will with the county, sure, but he never completed the probate process. No court approval, no legal transfer of assets." "You're lying." "Am I?" She tilted her head, enjoying every second of my panic. "Check for yourself. Call the courthouse. Ask about case number 2020 PR 8847. Oh, wait. There is no case number because legally Jerome's estate was never settled." The room started spinning. 5 years. 5 years I've been living in this house thinking everything was secure, legal, protected. "Which means," Tiffany continued, her voice dropping to a whisper that made my skin crawl, "technically, this property is in legal limbo. And in cases like that, the courts favor whoever can prove they're the rightful caretaker, whoever can show the current occupant is incapable." "This is insane," I breathed. "Devon would never." Her laughter cut through me like a blade. "Oh, Aaliyah, sweet, naive Aaliyah." She walked to the door, then turned back with eyes that held nothing but triumph. "Where do you think I got all this information? Who do you think has been meeting with estate lawyers for the past 6 months?" "No, no, no." "Devon loves his mother," she said, savoring every word like expensive wine, "but he loves his future more, and I am his future." The door clicked shut behind her, soft as a coffin lid closing, and I stood there, alone in the house Jerome built, wondering if my own son had just become my enemy. I couldn't breathe. The walls of my living room, walls that had witnessed Devon's first steps, his high school graduation photos, his tears when Jerome died, suddenly felt like they were crushing me. My own son. I sank onto the floor, my back against the couch, staring at nothing. Everything Tiffany said kept replaying in my head like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. "Where do you think I got all this information?" Devon. It had to be Devon. He was the only one who knew about Jerome's lawyer, about the will, about everything. But how could he? How could the boy I raised, the man I sacrificed everything for, turn against me like this? I closed my eyes and saw him as he was, 7 years old, gap-toothed smile running through this very room with his toy cars. Jerome would chase 'em, both of 'em laughing so hard the whole house shook with joy. "Mama, when I grow up, I'm going to buy you a big house," Devin had declared one night at dinner. "Baby, I don't need a big house," I told him, ruffling his hair. "I just need you to be happy." Now he was trying to take the only house I had ever called home. The tears came hot and fast, burning tracks down my cheeks. I pressed my palm against the hardwood floor, the floor Jerome installed board by board, teaching Devin how to measure and cut, making it a father-son project. "This house will outlive us all," Jerome had said, wiping sweat from his brow. "One day it'll be Devin's, then his kids. This is legacy, Aaliyah. This is family." Family. What a crude joke that word had become. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Devin. "Mom, answer your phone. We need to discuss your options." My options? Like I was a problem that needed solving instead of his mother who gave him everything. I wanted to call him. Wanted to scream, cry, beg him to tell me this was all some terrible misunderstanding. But I couldn't. Because deep in my gut, where mothers always know the truth, I knew Tiffany wasn't lying. Devin had chosen her over me. The doorbell rang, jolting me from my spiral. I scrambled to my feet, heart pounding. Through the peephole, I saw Tiffany standing there alone, that fake sweet smile plastered across her face. Every instinct screamed at me not to open that door. But rage, pure white-hot rage, overrode everything. I yanked it open. "What do you want now?" She said, "The documents. I need them back." "Get out of my home." "Your home?" She laughed, heading straight for the coffee table where I had left the competency papers scattered. I lunged for them first, my hands closing around the stack. "Let go, Aaliyah." She grabbed the other end, and we struggled like two dogs fighting over a bone. "These are lies," I shouted, pulling harder. "All of this is, you crazy old woman. You think you can fight me? You think you can win? This is my house. Jerome left it to me. Jerome's dead," she screamed in my face, "and soon this house will have nothing to do with you." I held on tighter, my knuckles white. "You know what? I'm done being nice." Her hand flew through the air. Crack! The slap sent me stumbling backward, papers flying everywhere like snow. My cheek exploded with pain and I tasted copper on my tongue. "Don't you ever touch what belongs to me again." And that's when I realized this wasn't just about a house anymore. This was war. Taste the blood in my mouth was nothing compared to the venom in Tiffany's voice. She stood over me, breathing hard, her chest heaving like she'd just run a marathon. But her eyes, those cold, calculated eyes, held nothing but satisfaction. "You have 48 hours, Aaliyah," she said, smoothing down her blouse like she hadn't just assaulted a woman in her own home. "Sign the deed over voluntarily, or we do this the hard way." I touched my burning cheek, my hand coming away with a smear of blood from where her ring had caught my lip. "The hard way?" "Court," she said, like a death sentence. "Devin files the competency petition tomorrow morning. We have documentation, months of it. Your forgetfulness, your confusion, your inability to manage basic finances." "All lies." "It doesn't matter if they're lies," she interrupted, crouching down to my level like she was talking to a child. "What matters is what a judge believes. And when your own son testifies that his mother needs help, that she's becoming a danger to herself, game over." The words hit me like physical blows. "Devin wouldn't—" "He already has." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through what looked like text messages. "See this? Mom's getting worse. She forgot she already paid the water bill and paid it again. And this one found her confused about what day it was. Oh, and my personal favorite. I'm worried she's not safe living alone anymore. Each message was a knife to my heart. My son, my baby boy, documenting my supposed decline like I was some stranger instead of the woman who raised him. You manipulated him, I whispered. I opened his eyes, she corrected, standing up and stepping over me like I was trash on the floor. He sees the truth now. His mother is old, stubborn, and holding on to a house she can barely maintain. He understands that sometimes you have to make hard choices for the people you love. She walked to my front door, then paused with her hand on the knob. Sign the papers, Aaliyah. Do it quietly, do it quickly, and you can still have a relationship with your son. Fight me and you lose everything. The house, Devin, your dignity. I'll make sure everyone knows how far you've fallen, how tragic it is when elderly parents refuse to accept reality. The door opened, letting in the cold night air. 48 hours, she repeated. After that, the choice gets made for you. Then she was gone, her car engine roaring to life and fading into the distance. The silence that followed was deafening. I sat there on my floor, surrounded by scattered papers and broken dreams, feeling the walls of Jerome's house, my house, pressing down on me. Every corner held a memory. Every creaking board told a story. And Tiffany wanted to erase all of it, erase me like I never existed. My phone lay on the floor next to me, Devin's last message still glowing on the screen. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Something inside me shifted, hardened, turned from fear into something sharper. I pulled myself up, ignoring the pain in my cheek, the ache in my bones, the exhaustion threatening to drown me. Tiffany thought I'd broken me, thought I'd roll over and surrender like a beaten dog. She didn't know that Jerome taught me one thing above all else. Never give up what's yours without a fight. I picked up my phone with steady hands. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. If Tiffany wanted war, she just declared it on the wrong woman. I didn't sleep that night. How could I, with Tiffany's threat hanging over my head like a guillotine? 48 hours, 2 days, to either surrender everything Jerome and I built or watch it get stolen in a courtroom while my own son testified against me. But as the sun rose through my bedroom window, the same window Jerome used to open every morning to let in fresh air, something clicked inside me. I wasn't some helpless old woman. I was Aaliyah Thompson, and I'd survived poverty, racism, my husband's death, and 32 years of life's hardest punches. A manipulative daughter-in-law wasn't going to be what broke me. At 7 a.m. sharp, I made my first call. Fitzgerald Legal Group, how may I direct your call? Patricia Montgomery, please. Tell her it's Aaliyah Thompson. Is urgent. Patricia had been my lawyer for 15 years, handled my will, Jerome's estate, everything. If anyone could tell me the truth about this probate nightmare, it was her. Aaliyah, Patricia's voice came through, warm but concerned. What's wrong? I told her everything. The slap, the threats, the competency papers, and most importantly, Tiffany's claim that Jerome's will was never properly probated. The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Patricia? That's a lie, she said finally, and I heard papers rustling in the background. I have the probate case number right here. Filed April 2020, approved June 2020. Your home is legally yours, Aaliyah. Always has been. The relief nearly buckled my knees. She said there was no case number, that the estate was never settled. She's either dangerously misinformed or deliberately lying, Patricia cut in, her voice hardening. And those competency papers, forward them to me immediately. If she's forging legal documents, we can have her arrested. My second call was to Marcus Williams, Jerome's best friend since childhood, the man who'd stood by his side through everything. Aaliyah, baby girl, what's going on? His deep voice carried the same warmth Jerome's used to have. I need your help, Marcus. It's about Devon and Tiffany. I heard the shift in his tone immediately. That woman's trouble. I told Devon that at the wedding, but he wouldn't listen. What do you mean? Something about her didn't sit right with me, Marcus said carefully. The way she asked questions about your finances, about the house. Jerome always said trust your gut, and mine was screaming. I need to know everything you know about her, everything you've noticed. Meet me at Lucille's diner in an hour. And Aaliyah, don't face this alone. Jerome wouldn't want that. My third and final call was the hardest, not because I didn't want to make it, but because it meant accepting that my family situation had become a criminal investigation. Cole Investigations? I need to hire a private investigator, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I think someone is trying to steal my property through fraud, and I need proof. The investigator's name was Raymond Cole, and he listened without interrupting as I laid out Tiffany's threats, the forged competency documents, Devon's strange behavior. Miss Thompson, he said when I finished, what you're describing sounds like a pattern. Has your daughter-in-law been married before? The question caught me off guard. I don't know. Devon never said. Let me dig into her background. If she's done this before, there'll be a trail. Give me 48 hours. 48 hours? The same deadline Tiffany had given me. I need answers faster than that. Can you do 24? He typed for you. For a case like this, I'll make it work. When I hung up, I felt different, lighter, like I'd been drowning and finally found air. Tiffany thought she was hunting prey, but she'd just woken up something far more dangerous, a mother protecting her home. That afternoon, Raymond Cole called back, Miss Thompson, and I heard something in his voice that made my pulse quicken. You need to sit down for this. What I found about Tiffany Hayes is worse than you think.
Tiffany Hayes isn't her real name. Raymond Cole's words hung in the air like a death sentence. I gripped my phone tighter, my kitchen suddenly feeling too small, too cold. What do you mean? She's changed her name twice, once after her first marriage, again after her second. Miss Thompson, your daughter-in-law has done this before. Not once, not twice, 3 times in the past 7 years. My stomach turned to ice. She targets men with assets, usually older men, sometimes their sons. She marries in, gains trust, then systematically works to acquire property through manipulation and legal intimidation. In 2 cases, she got the family homes. In 1 case, she got caught before she could complete the con. Caught? I breathed. Atlanta, 2019. She married a man named Thomas Chen, whose elderly father owned a commercial building. She tried the competency hearing trick. The father's lawyer caught on, found forged documents, and Tiffany disappeared before charges could be filed. The room spun. The competency paper she showed me? Probably half-forged, just like before. I'm still digging, but I've already found 3 signatures on those documents that don't match the supposed signers. He paused. Miss Thompson, there's more. Those text messages she showed you, the ones allegedly from your son documenting your mental decline? Yes. I need to verify, but I'd bet money at least some of them are fabricated. It's her pattern. Create false evidence, isolate the victim, then strike. My hand shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. My son. Does Devin know? That's what we need to find out. I called Devin 17 times that day. 17 times it went straight to voicemail. By the 18th call, I was ready to drive to his apartment and break down the door. Then, at 9 p.m., my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw my son standing there, shoulders slumped, eyes red and swollen. The door was barely open before he fell into my arms, sobbing like he was 7 years old again. "Mom," he choked out, his whole body shaking. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I held him tight, my own tears flowing. "Baby, what happened?" "She lied," he said, pulling back to look at me with devastated eyes. "About everything, the dementia, the will, all of it." We sat on the couch, the same couch where I once rocked him to sleep, and Devin told me everything. How Tiffany had started subtly, mentioning little things I'd supposedly forgotten. How she'd show him proof, allegedly bills paid twice, appointments I'd supposedly missed. How she'd cry saying she was worried about me, that she loved me too much to watch me deteriorate. "The lawyer meetings?" I asked gently. "Never happened. She showed me fake emails, fake documents. I thought," his voice cracked, "I thought I was saving you, Mom, saving our family home. She said if we didn't act fast, you'd lose everything to scammers or bad decisions." The cruelty of it stole my breath. Tiffany hadn't just targeted me, she had weaponized my son's love against both of us. "How did you find out?" I whispered. Devin pulled out his phone with trembling hands. "I came home early from work today, found her on a call laughing about how easy it was to play the devoted wife, how stupid we both were." He looked at me, shame and rage warring in his eyes. "Mom, what have I done?" I'd imagined this moment 1,000 times over the past few days, confronting Devin, demanding answers, making him choose between his manipulative wife and his mother. But sitting here with my son sobbing in my arms, all that anger melted away like ice in the sun. "What have I done?" he repeated, his voice raw with anguish. "I helped her, Mom. I gave her information about Dad's will, about the house, about you. I thought I was being a good son." I cupped his face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. "Baby, listen to me. You were being a good son. That's exactly what she counted on. But I should have seen it. She's a professional, Devin. This is what she does. She finds good people with good hearts and twists that love into a weapon. You're not stupid. You're not weak. You were manipulated by someone who's perfected the art of deception." His tears came harder. "I let her hit you. I wasn't there when you needed me most." "You're here now," I said, pulling him close again. "That's what matters." We sat there for a long time, holding each other the way we hadn't since Jerome's funeral. My baby boy, who'd grown into a man I sometimes didn't recognize, felt like my son again.
Finally, Devin pulled back and wiped his eyes. "I recorded the phone call," he said, "the one where she admitted everything." My heart skipped. What did she say? He pulled out his phone, his hand still shaking, and pressed play. Tiffany's voice came through, cold and mocking. "So easy. The old woman actually believes I want a relationship with her. And Devin? God, he's like a puppy. Tell him his mama's losing her mind, show him some fake bills, and he'll do anything I say." Another voice, a woman I didn't recognize. "What if she fights back?" Tiffany laughed. "She won't. They never do. By the time they realize what's happening, it's too late. The house will be ours in 3 months tops. Then we can flip it and move on to the next mark." The recording stopped. I stared at my son, seeing the devastation in his eyes. "Devin, he filing for divorce," he said flatly. "Tomorrow, first thing. And I'm giving you this recording along with every document she ever showed me, every text message, every email. Whatever you need to bury her, Ma, you got it." Pride swelled in my chest alongside the grief. "Are you sure? This won't be easy." "I'm sure." His jaw set with determination that reminded me so much of Jerome, my breath caught. "She threatened you. She hit you. She tried to steal everything Dad built for us. I don't care what it takes or how long it takes. She's gonna pay for what she did to our family." We spent the next hour planning with Patricia on speakerphone, then Raymond, then Marcus, building a case, gathering evidence, preparing for battle. It was nearly midnight when Devin's phone buzzed. His face went pale as he read the message. "It's from Tiffany," he said quietly. "She says she's coming tomorrow night for your answer. She's bringing witnesses to make sure you understand your options." I stood up, straightening my spine, feeling strength I didn't know I still had. "Good," I said. "Let her come." Devin looked at me with worry. "Ma, she's dangerous." "So am I interrupted. "When someone threatens my family, when someone tries to steal what my husband built with his own hands, she has no idea what kind of woman she's dealing with." Tomorrow, Tiffany would walk into my house expecting a broken old woman ready to surrender. Instead, she'd find a mother who'd gotten her son back. And there's nothing more dangerous than that.
The next evening, I made tea. It sounds ridiculous, I know. Preparing beverages while waiting for the woman who'd assaulted me, threatened my home, and nearly destroyed my relationship with my son. But Jerome always said the calmest person in the room holds all the power. So I made tea. At exactly 7, headlights flooded my living room. 3 car doors slammed in quick succession. Through my window, I watched Tiffany stride up my walkway like a queen approaching her throne. Behind her, 2 large men in dark suits flanked her like bodyguards. Intimidation tactics. How predictable. I opened the door before she could knock. "Tiffany," I said calmly, "right on time." She looked surprised, probably expecting me cowering behind locked doors. Her eyes narrowed when she saw I was dressed nicely, makeup done, standing tall. "Where are your attack dogs?" I asked, nodding toward the 2 men. "Witnesses," she corrected with that venomous smile. "I want to make sure there's no confusion about what happens here tonight." She pushed past me into my living room, the men following like trained shadows. "I assume you've made the smart decision." I closed the door softly and turned to face her. I have made a decision, I said. Please, sit. Tiffany's smile widened as she settled onto my couch like she already owned it. The two men remained standing, arms crossed, trying to look menacing. I'm glad you're being reasonable, Aaliyah, Tiffany purred, pulling papers from her designer bag. I have the deed transfer documents right here. Sign them and we can all move forward like adults. Before I do that, I said, pouring tea with steady hands, I'd like to understand something. How long have you been planning this? She laughed, that cruel sound that used to make my blood run cold. Now it just made me angry. Does it matter? What matters is that in about 5 minutes, this house stops being your problem and starts being mine. Ours, one of the men corrected. You said we get a cut. Shut up, Leo, Tiffany snapped, then recovered her composure. The point is, Aaliyah, your time here is over. Sign the papers. I took a sip of tea. And if I don't? Her eyes flashed with rage. Then tomorrow morning, Devin files the competency petition. By next week, you'll be in a state-ordered evaluation. By next month, you won't even have the mental capacity to fight back. Your choice. Sign now and keep some dignity, or lose everything, including your son's respect. My son's respect, I repeated slowly, setting down my teacup. That's interesting. Tell me, Tiffany, what would you do if Devin was here right now? What would you say to him? She rolled her eyes. Devin's at work, like I told him to be. He doesn't need to see this part. Doesn't need to see what part? The part where you steal your mother's home? Or the part where you gloat about how easy it was to manipulate him? The color drained from her face. What are you talking about? I'm talking about phone calls. I'm talking about recordings. I'm talking about patterns of fraud across 3 different states. Tiffany stood up slowly, the two men suddenly looking nervous. You're bluffing, she said, but her voice wavered. Am I? That's when the kitchen door opened. Devin stepped out first, his face hard as stone. Behind him came Patricia, my lawyer, her briefcase in hand, and behind her, Raymond Cole with a manila envelope that made her fake documents look like crayon drawings. Hello, wife, Devin said coldly. Tiffany's face went pale to ghost white. What is this? I smiled for the first time in days. This, I said, is checkmate. You should have seen her face. Tiffany, the woman who'd walked into my home with such arrogance, such certainty, suddenly looked like a trapped animal realizing the cage door had slammed shut. Devin? Her voice cracked, the mask of confidence slipping. Baby, what are you doing here? I told you. You told me a lot of things, most of them lies. She tried to recover, forcing that fake sweet smile. Honey, whatever your mother told you, I heard it from your own mouth, he interrupted, pulling out his phone. Want me to play it for everyone? The part where you call me a puppy? Or the part where you laughed about flipping my family's home? The color that had drained from her face earlier, now it was replaced by red fury. You recorded me, she hissed. That's illegal. Actually, Patricia stepped forward, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor with authority. In this state, only one party needs to consent to recording,
And since Devin was part of that conversation, it's perfectly admissible. She opened her briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents that made Tiffany's fake papers look pathetic. Tiffany Brennan, also known as Tiffany Hayes, also known as Tiffany Morrison, you are hereby served with papers for attempted fraud, elder abuse, forgery, and conspiracy to commit theft. This is insane, she shrieked, backing away. I was just trying to help. Help? Raymond Cole stepped forward with his manila envelope open. Like you helped Thomas Chen in Atlanta? Or Gregory Morrison in Charlotte? Or the Ramirez family in Houston? Each name hit like a hammer blow. Tiffany's eyes darted between all of us, looking for an exit, an excuse, anything. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered. Really? Raymond pulled out photographs. Because I have documented evidence of 3 separate property schemes across 3 states. Your pattern is remarkably consistent. Marry into families with assets, fabricate mental incompetency claims, forge documents, and intimidate elderly victims into signing over property. The 2 men she brought, Leo and his companion, suddenly looked very interested in the door. Wait a minute, Leo said, his voice rising with panic. She told us we were just here to witness a legal property transfer. Said the old lady needed witnesses because of memory problems. She lied to you too, I said calmly. She's good at that. We didn't know about any fraud, the other man protested, already backing toward the exit. We thought this was legitimate. Then you're free to go, Patricia said coolly, but we'll need your contact information in case investigators want to verify your story. They couldn't pull out their business cards fast enough, practically throwing them at Patricia before bolting for the door. The sound of it slamming echoed through my living room like a gunshot. Now it was just us and Tiffany. You can't prove anything, she said, but her voice trembled. Those cases, they never went to trial. No charges were filed. Because you ran before you could be prosecuted, Raymond interrupted. But that ends tonight. The district attorney in Atlanta has reopened the Chin case. Charlotte PD wants to talk to you about the Morrison situation. And Houston, they're particularly interested in those forged medical documents you created. Tiffany's breathing came fast and shallow. Cornered. Desperate. Devin, she tried one last time, turning to my son with tears in her eyes. Baby, please, I love you. Everything I did was for us. Don't, Devin said quietly, his voice breaking slightly. Don't insult me with more lies. Something shifted in Tiffany's expression then, from desperation to pure calculation. Her eyes darted to the door, to her car keys clutched in her hand. Tiffany, Patricia warned, don't even think about. She bolted. Faster than I had ever seen her move. She sprinted for my front door, yanked it open, and ran into the night. Should we stop her? Raymond asked. Patricia pulled out her phone with a grim smile. No need. I called the police before we even came here. They're waiting at the end of the street. We all rushed to my front door, just in time to see Tiffany's desperate sprint down my driveway come to an abrupt, humiliating halt. Blue and red lights exploded from both ends of my street, cutting through the darkness like divine judgment. Police, stop where you are! Tiffany froze halfway to her car, her designer heel skidding on the pavement. For a split second, I thought she might actually try to run, but 6 officers emerged from 3 patrol cars, hands on their weapons, forming a wall she couldn't possibly breach. Get on the ground, now! She stood there, chest heaving, mascara-streaked tears running down her face. Gone was the polished predator who'd slapped me in my own home. In her place stood a cornered criminal finally facing consequences. "I didn't do anything," she screamed as two officers approached. "This is a misunderstanding." "Tiffany Brennan," one officer called out, handcuffs already drawn. The use of her real name made her flinch like she'd been struck. "You have multiple outstanding warrants in Georgia, North Carolina, and Texas for fraud, identity theft, and elder exploitation. You have the right to remain silent." "No!" she shrieked, jerking away as they tried to cuff her. "You don't understand. That old woman in there is lying. She's senile. She doesn't know what she's talking about." "Ma'am, stop resisting." It took 3 officers to get the handcuffs on while she screamed obscenities that would have made a sailor blush. Neighbors poured out of their houses, phones out, recording everything. Good. Let them see. Let the whole world see what kind of monster had been living among us. "We also have evidence of attempted fraud and assault in this jurisdiction," another officer said, approaching Patricia. "The district attorney wants to add additional charges." Patricia handed over the documents with cold efficiency. "You'll find everything you need in here. Forged competency papers, fabricated text messages, recorded confessions, and testimony from the victim." Tiffany's head whipped toward me, standing on my porch with Devon's arm around my shoulders. "You vindictive witch!" she spat, struggling against the officers holding her. "I'll get out. I have lawyers. I'll come back and take everything from you." "No, you won't," Devon said, his voice steady and final. "Because I'm testifying against you for every lie, every manipulation, every second you made me believe my mother was losing her mind. You're done, Tiffany." The fight drained out of her then. Not surrender, defeat. As they loaded her into the back of the patrol car, she looked at me one last time. No more fake smiles, no more calculated charm, just pure hatred burning in her eyes. The car door slammed shut. I watched those red taillights disappear down my street, carrying away the woman who tried to steal my home, my son, my entire life. Silence fell over my front yard. Then Devon pulled me into the tightest hug I'd felt in 5 years. Since Jerome's funeral, since I thought I'd lost everything that mattered. "I'm so sorry, Mom," he whispered into my hair, his voice cracking. "I'm so sorry." I held my son close, feeling his heartbeat against mine, both of us crying and laughing at the same time. "You're home now," I told him. "That's all that matters." Behind us, my house, Jerome's house, our house, stood solid and safe. The battle was over, but something told me the war wasn't quite finished yet. 3 months later, I stood in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd made tea the night Tiffany's world collapsed, watching Devon install new locks on the back door. My son, my beautiful, broken, healing son. "That should do it, Mom," he said, testing the deadbolt twice. "This system's connected to your phone now. Anyone even touches this door, you'll know immediately." We'd spent the past 90 days rebuilding what Tiffany had tried to destroy. Some days were harder than others. Devon filed for divorce the morning after Tiffany's arrest. His lawyer said it would be quick. Marriages built on fraud rarely take long to dissolve. He'd moved back home 2 weeks later, his eyes hollow, his spirit shattered. I let her into our family, he said that first night, sitting at our kitchen table where he used to do homework as a kid. I brought a predator into our home and handed her the keys to destroy you. She was good at what she did, I reminded him gently. Professional con artists don't look like monsters, baby. They look like everything you want them to be. But guilt isn't logical. So Devin started therapy, twice a week at first, then once a week as he began understanding how manipulation works, how love can be weaponized, how good people can be turned into accomplices without even knowing it. I went with him sometimes. We sit together in that small office, unpacking 3 years of lies, rebuilding trust one painful session at a time. Your son blames himself for not protecting you, his therapist told me during one joint session. But the truth is, you both protected each other when it mattered most. She was right. Devin gave me the evidence that buried Tiffany, and I gave him the strength to see the truth. The legal aftermath was swift and brutal, for Tiffany anyway. Patricia worked magic. Within a month, we had restraining orders, updated property records, and a will so airtight even the most creative con artists couldn't touch it. The deed to my house, Jerome's house, our family's legacy, was recorded, notarized, and triple verified. Nobody's taking this from you, Patricia had said, sliding the final documents across her desk. Not now, not ever. I'd also installed a security system that would make Fort Knox jealous. Cameras at every entrance, motion sensors, direct line to the police department. Maybe it was overkill, but after having someone threaten to steal your entire life, you don't take chances. As for Tiffany, the news came in pieces, each update more satisfying than the last. Georgia pressed charges. North Carolina followed. Texas added their own. The district attorney in our county piled on fraud, elder abuse, assault, and conspiracy charges. Raymond Cole called last week with the final count. 18 felony charges across 4 states. Even with a plea deal, she's looking at 15 to 20 years minimum. 15 to 20 years. She'll be an old woman by the time she got out, if she got out. Some might say I should feel sorry for her, that I should find it in my heart to forgive. But forgiveness is for people who show remorse. Tiffany showed nothing but contempt, even during her arraignment when she screamed at the judge that she was the real victim. Nah, some people don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve consequences. Now, watching Devin pack up his tools, seeing him smile, really smile for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt since Jerome died. Peace. Ma, Devin pulled me from my thoughts. You okay? I looked around my kitchen, at the walls that held 32 years of memories, at my son, home where he belonged, at the life I almost lost but fought like hell to keep. Yeah, baby, I'm more than okay. Because here's what I learned through this nightmare. Predators like Tiffany count on us being isolated, ashamed, too afraid to fight back. They use our love for family as a weapon against us. But when you stand up, when you refuse to be a victim, when you gather people who truly love you and fight back with everything you have, you can win. My house stands, my son came home, and the woman who tried to destroy us is behind bars where she belongs. Family should protect you, not prey on you. And anyone who forgets that will learn the hard way, just like Tiffany did. This is my house, my home, my legacy, and nobody takes that from me. Sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet, I think about that moment Tiffany looked at me from the back of that police car. Pure hatred in her eyes. No remorse, no shame. Just rage that she'd finally been caught. I wonder if she ever thinks about what she did.
If prison has given her time to reflect on the families she destroyed, the trust she shattered, the lives she tried to steal. But then I remember, predators don't feel regret. They only regret getting caught. And me? I don't regret a single thing. Not fighting back, not exposing her, not watching her lose everything the way she tried to make me lose everything. Because for the first time in 3 years, I chose myself. I chose my peace. I chose my home. And I'd do it all over again in a heartbeat. So here's what I need to know from you, and I want your honest truth in the comments. When family betrays you this deeply, when they choose someone else over you, when they almost destroy everything you've built, do they automatically deserve forgiveness just because they share your blood? Or do they need to earn their way back into your life like anyone else would? Because Devin earned his way back. He fought for me when it mattered. But what about families who don't? What about the ones who never apologize, never change, never even admit they were wrong? Drop your thoughts below. I want to know where you stand on this. If this story resonated with you, if you believe that justice matters and that standing up for yourself is never wrong, then you belong in this community. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we share real stories here. Stories about survival, revenge, and refusing to be anyone's victim. This is a space for people who understand that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is fight back. And listen, if you know someone dealing with a toxic family member, someone being manipulated or taken advantage of, someone who needs to hear that it's possible to win against people who seem untouchable, share this video with them. You never know whose life might change because they saw that one person stood up and survived. Sometimes the story someone needs finds them exactly when they need it most. Thank you for listening to my story. I'm Aaliyah, and I'm still standing in the house Jerome built. Until next time, stay strong, trust your instincts, and never let anyone make you feel small in your own home.